Hello everyone, Jolene here from Bookworm Adventure Girl. Welcome back. And if you are new, thanks for checking out my channel. Please hit subscribe and stick around. We are already a quarter of the way through the year and a quarter of the way through the Reading Across Canada 2023 challenge. It's pretty incredible. The goal of this challenge is to get people reading more Canadian literature, Canadian authors, and stories, and each month we focus on a different province or territory. And we have a prompt for anyone who wants to follow the prompts, but you don't have to. If you want to join in, I'm going to leave a link to my introductory video in the description box where you can learn more about it. And I will also leave links below to the tracker that you can use, and I will have the schedule and the prompts below as well, so you can check all of that out. During the month of April, we are in Manitoba, and if you are following the prompt, then it's to read a collection of poetry. I'm going to share the book that I chose to read this month, which I am still waiting for. Hopefully it will be here soon. And then I will give some suggestions for next month, for May, when we travel to Ontario. So we have made it to the center of the country. The province of Manitoba is the last of the prairie provinces, and it has a lot to offer, and I think it can be overlooked. That's just my opinion. I think people would be surprised to know that the province of Manitoba has over 100,000 lakes, and it has a lot of forested land as well. Winnipeg is the largest city, probably the most well known, and some Canadians affectionately call it Winterpeg because of Winnipeg is known for some very brutal winters. Bears are also important to Manitoba. Many tourists go north to visit Churchill, Manitoba to see the Northern Lights and to see polar bears. And if you've ever heard of Winnie the Pooh, the name was inspired by Winnipeg. The sport of curling, very loved sport here in Canada. It's really big in Canada, but it is really, really big in Manitoba. And if you've heard of musicians like Neil Young, Randy Bachman, Chantal Kreviatsuk, Tom Cochrane, or if you've heard of actors like Adam Beach or Nia Vardalos, then you have heard of people from Manitoba. And as I mentioned in my recommendations video, there are many writers that hail from Manitoba as well. So the book that I am choosing to read this month, the collection of poetry, is called River Woman by Katarina Vermette. I, as I said, am still waiting for it to arrive, but it should be here soon. I have loved Katarina Vermette's novels. She's written The Break and The Strangers, which are like companion novels, and both which take place in Winnipeg. So I'm really looking forward to reading some of her poetry because I love her writing. So please let me know what you are reading or what you plan to read in April for the province of Manitoba. So now I'm going to give you some suggestions for May. In May, we will be in Ontario, which is one of the largest provinces in Canada, and it's the most populated province with over 14 million people. This will be one of the easiest provinces to find authors for because there are just so many writers born in or living in Ontario. So I will also leave a link from CBC that I found. It has 70 Canadian short stories that are available for free online. So you can check those out. I'm sure that there are plenty that are from Ontario, some writers from Ontario on the list. Because it is so easy to find books from writers born in Ontario or living in Ontario, I am going to focus more on the prompt. So May is International Short Story Month. So the prompt is to read a collection of short stories, or really a short story if you don't want to do a whole collection. So I'm going to share a few that are on my shelves that I've read and that I've enjoyed, and then I'm going to share a few that are on my radar to read. So if you're not into short stories, like no worries. It's fine. Most, if not all of these authors have novels as well. And as I said, there are just so many Ontario writers to choose from that finding something won't be difficult. I hope. Anyway, if you are looking for something specific, then please reach out, let me know, even put it in the comments below, and I will do my best to help you out. Okay, so I'm going to start with the Queen of Canadian literature, Margaret Atwood. She has written 9 collections of short stories, so there's a few to choose from, and I'm going to highlight 3 of my favorites. I have Wilderness Tips, Dancing Girls, and Bluebeard's Egg. And if you want to learn more about these, I did videos on all of Margaret Atwood's books in my Mondays with Margaret series. So I will leave links to those videos below. And if you want to read something like this, those are good. If you'd like something a little bit quicker, she does have 2 collections that you could get through very easily, like in one sitting. One is called Good Bones, and the other is Murder in the Dark. This one's probably about 80 pages. Good Bones might be about 100, but they are also like smaller books. So I'll show you like up against, you can see the difference. So they are pretty tiny. So they are both very quick reads, both good. If you were looking for something more recent, then Atwood actually just published a short story collection in March called Old Babes in the Woods. This is on my radar to get. Hopefully I can get to it soon because I want to keep up with my Margaret Atwood reading, and that's the one I haven't read yet. So another queen of Canadian literature, and specifically short stories, is Alice Munro. I have several of her books on my shelves, like quite a bit. She should have been, if she wasn't, I'm not sure, she should have been included in some of my book confession videos. So I will have to remember that when I do another book confession video, because if I didn't include her, I really should have. I read Lives of Girls and Women about a million years ago. I think I was still in high school. And I think one day I would like to read more of her because I really do have a lot. One of my all-time favorite short story collections that I have talked about at least 1,000 times on my channel is How to Pronounce Knife by Suvan Kamthemavongsa. I love this book. This won the Giller Prize a few years ago, and I was thrilled because it is fantastic. So I highly recommend that one. Shut Up You're Pretty by Tea Mutanji. This is for something a little bit different, also another quick read. Another collection on my shelf that I've read a little bit ago now is That Time I Loved You by Carrie Ann Lung. I read this a few years ago and had the chance to meet the author, who is lovely. And then I have 2 collections that are on my radar to read for next month. And those are Dominoes at the Crossroads by Kai Kello. And this collection has been longlisted for both Canada Reads and the Giller Prize. It's been sitting on my shelf for quite some time. I can't believe I haven't read it yet. And I really do want to get to it. And then the other is Canary by Nancy Jo Cullen. I've read her novel, The Western Alienation Merit Badge, but haven't yet read more of her stuff, and I really want to. So this is an opportunity for me to do that, and hopefully can pick this up. So those are some short story collections that could work for May. However, there is so many more, and just a reminder that you don't have to follow the prompts in order to do this challenge. If you want to read a book that's set in Ontario, there are tons of books to choose from as well. Just as I was coming into film, I grabbed my favorite Mary Lawson book. Mary Lawson is one of my favorite Canadian writers, and Crow Lake is still my favorite of hers, but really any of her books are good if you are looking for fiction and an Ontario setting. Another first book that's set in Ontario that I loved, and also one of my favorite authors, is The Way the Crow Flies. Now, this is more of a commitment, and this is by Anne-Marie MacDonald. This is fiction, but it's based on a real true crime that took place near Clinton, Ontario. When Stephen Truscott was 14, he was convicted of raping and murdering a 12-year-old girl who was one of his friends and classmates. And then many decades later, he was finally exonerated. And I've always been fascinated by this story and have kind of followed along. And I've been to the site and I've seen plays about this story. So The Way the Crow Flies uses that story to tell a fictional story. And then, since we are on a true crime in Ontario kick here, if you are looking for nonfiction and you like true crime, then I have 2 books to share. I actually just talked about this, Missing from the Village by Justin Ling. So I talked about this in my March wrap-up, and it is about a serial killer in Toronto's gay village. And then the final one that I will tell you about, it's a little bit older, and it's very famous, and that is The Donnellys Must Die by Orlo Miller. I read this when I was in high school. This is about a Black family who were massacred, and that happened just north of London, Ontario, where I used to live. And you can visit their graves, and there is a museum, which I've been to. There's always been a lot of mystery and intrigue around this family and this story. So if you are looking for something, I'm going to say a bit different than short stories, there is a lot out there. So these are some recommendations for next month. And as I said, there are many more. I will leave links to resources below, and please put down any recommendations that you have. Let me know what you are reading for Manitoba during the month of April. And if you have any thoughts or other recommendations that you'd like to share for either April or for next month when we read for Ontario. I look forward to chatting with you in the comments. Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and don't forget to make every day an adventure.